for a few years now. And so we have an archive using a public Canvas site. So anything that we gather resource-wise is archived there. So if you want to find that link, that's what that's about. Today's session is technology wish list. Just want to point out that hot off the press, designing media assignments is going to be the topic of our next session in January, and we think it's going to be on January 15th. So that will be communicated officially at the beginning of the quarter. Okay? And with no further ado, Kevin Dixey.
Really? Some further ado would be good?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So when Justina first came to me and said, let's do this, would you do this presentation about technology wish list? It was several months ago, and at the time I remember thinking, oh, sure, I'll do that. Of course, I was in the middle of 50 things. And then about 2-3 weeks ago, I went, oh, yeah, I got to do that. I'm going to do that. And I started really thinking about it. I started really putting Paula laughs because she knows how that works. It's like, oh, yeah, that's an awesome idea. And then when it's getting close, ooh, got to do that. What am I going to do for that? So I started to really put some thought into it, like, what exactly is a technology wish list? And I thought it was kind of interesting that it was coming around the holidays. So I was like, ooh, what do I want in my stocking? And I started to think this can evolve in sort of two different directions. One, technology wishes can be, what is it that you are expecting from technology? What are things that you find that you want, you wish it did, the promise that it's holding out there? Because a lot of people come to the table when it comes to technology with lots of different ideas. Like AJ. You're somebody who wants, I don't know, to be suspended by robots carrying you around day to day, doing all your bidding. Okay. Yeah. So yesterday I read about Amazon testing the idea of delivering packages with drones. Which I have to admit, if they do that, I'm going to be the first one to order something really small and have a drone bring it to me. Yeah, I know. Yeah, like something like a USB drive that weighs about 2 ounces. Throw it to me. I will pay extra. But when I really started to put some time into this, I thought, well, there are all things that we bring to the table when it comes to what we want technology to do for us. Now, I'm somebody who's been using technology for 20 plus years. And of course, I always think of technology as kind of a slippery slope, because people say technology, and they think we mean this, or your phone or your computer. The screw and the fulcrum were technology in ancient Greece. So, and to me, there's a lot of things that qualify as technology. Like my needle nose pliers are technology, because I sure couldn't get my fingers in there. But specifically today, we're going to talk about sort of this level of technology. And I think that the point of technology for me is to allow me to do stuff more quickly. And that's not more quickly so I can then do more stuff. See, that I think's the misnomer about technology, where it's like, you can do your work in half the time, so you can do twice the work for the same amount of money. Awesome. Yeah, I don't like that idea. I would like it to decouple me from just always being chained to a computer. So how many of you actually have had the time where you've sat at a computer all day? Yeah, well, all of us do that. And for me, that's just murder. One, just, anatomically, we're not meant to be sitting in a chair all day attached to a computer. I mean, it's just you end up hurting all over, everything from your feet to your wrist to your head, So to me, it's about decoupling from that experience and sort of allowing me to have a more sort of normal experience than being chained to a computer. So that's what I look for in technology. The biggest boon, I think, in the last 10 years has been the advent of these guys. I don't mean iPhones, but just smartphones. Okay, whatever flavor of smartphone, but they really have been a big deal. This really sort of changed the landscape. I mean, most of us probably at one time had the old school button phones. And I remember when a smartphone first came out with no buttons on it, how everybody laughed. Ha ha ha, how's that going to work without buttons? Now you see a button phone, what do you think? I know, exactly. Button phone? I saw one the other day, so we had a little flip phone, and I thought it's like they were holding one of those giant phones from like the 70s. Hello, or it was hilarious to see, you have buttons? What are those for? The other thing is I brought a button phone into a class, a freshman I had. Now, admittedly, it was a button phone. I brought a dial phone and a button phone, old school, sitting on the table kind of, and I presented them to them. They knew what the button phone did. The dial phone, they were like, I said, how do you think it works? And I swear to God, they walked up and they poked their fingers in the holes. Like that? And I'm like, sort of. You got to turn it. And they're like, really? And they're like, what do you do now? You know, it was funny. I brought a videotape in too, and I would say about 3/4 of the students had no idea what it was. Like, what's that? And a couple of them, my grandfather has those. And they're like, do you have something, you know how they work? No, you know, and I'd open it up and pull some of the tape out. So, to me, the biggest impact on us has been mobile technology. And mobile technology has really opened up a lot of avenues for us. What I'm going to show today is sort of a suite of things that allow me to be sitting less in front of a desk. I hate sitting in front of a desk. I love helping you all with Canvas, but I hate sitting in front of a desk. So you never know if I'm actually walking around campus going, yeah, I got that for you. But to me, my phone and my tablet are indispensable. In fact, I've pretty much replaced, I used to have a laptop that I used all the time. I've replaced my laptop with my tablet. And I would say 90% of the functionality I got on my laptop, I have from my tablet. And then I have a small computer at home that I use. But it really, anymore, this is how I use these kinds of tools. So let me switch over. So for this demonstration, I'll be using my iPad. I'm sort of platform agnostic. It's like if you like Android, you like iPads, it really doesn't matter to me. But I think they all represent the same kind of thing. Now, for me, since I already had an iPhone, I'm a Mac user, it made sense to go with the sort of ecosystem where they all connect. But whatever you use is fine. So, oops, let's take one up here. There we go. So, there's a suite of probably about 3 or 4 things I want to talk about. Now, for me, since I do tech support, I have lots of information that I have to deal with on a daily basis. I need to get access to it. I need to be able to get to my information. I need to be able to give it to other people. So for me, the tools that are most important are things that allow me to conglomerate information, get information, and send it out to other people. All right? I'm also going to show you a couple fun things. So the first thing is, I don't know if we've talked in this group before, but how many of you have passwords? How many of you struggle to remember your passwords? Yeah. How many passwords do you have, AJ?
Easily 200.
Yeah, I have about 2,500.
Sure.
All right, yeah. So I have a ton of passwords. And of course, in my position, I have tons and tons. I know. The look on your face is like, holy crap, you have 2,500 passwords. Seriously, I do. All right, so long ago, I decided this is not going to work. I used to keep them written down in a book. That didn't go very far. So I decided to move to a password keeper. Now, I had a password keeper that was just an application, and it kept it all in like a database. But I got away from that, and I started using an app called LastPass. How many of you have heard of LastPass? What? Well, you don't count. So LastPass is a free app. Okay, you can get it in 2 different flavors. You can get a free version, and you get one that you pay the princely sum of $1 a month. All right, and the $1 a month gives you access to it on a mobile device. So I opted for that, and I paid it up front, a whopping $12. So what LastPass does, let me get you into it. LastPass is essentially a password keeper, password minder. It allows me to just keep all of my passwords available to me at any time. You can access it on a mobile device, either a tablet or a phone. You can also get to it from a website, and you can also have free plugins to go to your browser. All right, so something like this. This is accessing all my stuff. Now I have a combination of notes and passwords, and I can also fill in forms as well. So at the bottom, it gives me access to my sites, my notes, and of course my fill-in forms. So if I go to one of these and just look at it, like say my Pinboard account, which I use quite a bit, I can choose to go to Pinboard, I can launch it, or I can just view it, I can copy the password, copy the username. So as I'm moving around, it allows me to function and use all this content really easily. So right now I'm going to launch my Pinboard account. Oh, cool. Oh, it's because I'm off the internet. All right, get it back here.
This room sometimes.
Yeah, this room sometimes does that. Oh, no, not that one. That one. Yeah, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. I can show it to you on the PC as well. All right, so I come in here. Thank you, AJ. Is this your room?
Nope.
Nothing to do with. Oh, you suck.
You're trying to get, you have to, you're trying to launch a browser?
Yeah, any browser would be good.
Yeah, this is what I have to do because I teach in this room.
Yeah, programs.
I have to click a link on something.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
You can't actually get to a browser any other way?
I haven't found it.
Your Barclay card would be a good place to start.
Yeah, that's true.
And your mother's maybe.
Oh, here we go. All right, so. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's passed. All right. And we're go log in. You're not gonna let me download, are you?
It's not an app. It's
Yeah.
freeware.
So is it an app?
Yeah, it's a website.
It's a website.
Here, let me just do it
So
this
it's
way.
freeware?
It's freeware, completely free. Here, let's do it this way. You'll let me in to wireless now. And if, oh yeah, there we go. Oh, we're so happy now. I was about ready to go, moving on. All right.
Hey, Kevin, a quick question from over here.
Yep.
How are you projecting your iPad on that screen? Are you just going to a VGA out and mirroring?
I have this lovely little adapter right here, which goes from the iPad to VGA.
Okay.
All right.
And then
Adapters are about $30.
I thought maybe you
And
took
then what
that
you-
away.
It's my mental powers. You hit the laptop. So the laptop is any external device coming in. There are multiple ways to talk about it, and actually AJ is going to talk about one in a second of other ways you could possibly do this.
Good.
All right. So now that I am actually connected again, let's go back to LastPass. So LastPass allows me to go in. Again. So let's say I'm going to go to my Pinboard account. Let's launch it. All right. So what it does, it just opens up. There we go. All right, just opens up Pinboard here and allows me to see all my stuff. Now, Pinboard is one of the other things I'm going to show. Pinboard is an online service. It's not free, but it's cheap, and it's cheap based on the number of users they have. I think when I signed up, it's about $6 for a lifetime. You only pay once. I think it's up to about $9.95 now. It's a one-time fee. And what it is, it's a way for to put together your different URLs and links that you have, and just store them in a secure place. All right. So I use Pinboard quite a bit, and as you can see, I have a lot of different tags that I've got up here. So for instance, I was working on, say, what's my, I'm not sure what my awesome was about. Okay, so I go to my awesome tag, talks about all the different stuff I have. So as I go through picking up websites that I like, little bits of information, I can place them in Pinboard. So Pinboard is this sort of online repository for my links. Unlike Delicious, which came before it, it doesn't have that sort of social aspect, sort of Facebooky aspect where I'm posting them up and then I'm also sharing them with all my friends because I'm a fairly antisocial person when it comes to things like this. So it just allows me to control all this. Now when I come in, each one of these, I have the ability to come in, save them, I can save descriptions from them, I can put tags on them, and it shows me what tags are available. So this is a perfect example now. What's nice about LastPass is LastPass allows me to access any one of these, has a built-in browser, and allows me to use them on a tablet. If I'm on the web, I could do the same thing. You download a free plugin for your browser, and it's available for all browsers, and you can do the same thing. You can hop in, you can go to all your stuff, or let's say you go like your Barclay card. I get that notification, oh, I forgot to pay my bill. All right, and I'm sitting at my office. Well, I don't need to have all this stuff with me. I just have the download the free plugin. Boom, Barclay card. What's that password again? Oh yeah, Ugly Bear, whatever it is. And then I go in, I pay my bill, boom, I'm out of here. All right. Or let's say Paula, let's say you call me and you go, oh, I'm stuck in Canvas. I need X, Y, Z, and there's a little bit of information I've kept locked away somewhere. I hop in here. I can do it on my phone even. I can look it up. Say, oh yeah, this is what it is. Yeah, Paula, go. Touch the left key, then the right key, and hit up and down. Kick the wall with your foot, and that'll make it work. So it allows me to keep all this information there. The other thing LastPass allows me to do is not only that, but I can just keep general notes, like the YMCA tax ID, which I'm constantly forgetting when I'm trying to get ASI to pay me for the money I pay to the YMCA. Or things like, my last. Here's a great one. I found out I had a safe deposit box that I had stuff in that was had long vanished. So I had to write this down, and I found it out, oddly, while I was on a ferry somewhere. I heard somebody in the next seat mentioning it. Like, really? So I wrote it down on my phone and I saved it to last minute. So when I got home, I contacted them like 2 weeks later. I got a box at my house. It's like, oh, here's the stuff you left. And I left like a dozen silver coins. It was really cool. Like, wow, check this out. It's like all the stuff that I lost. So it allows me to keep all this stuff completely free. The only difference between the free and the non-free version is the non-free version doesn't allow you mobile access. So for $1 a month, you get mobile access. $12.
So the storage, is it on a server somewhere?
It's on a server somewhere.
Right, it never is actually on your.
Never is actually on your, you can download it if you wish, all right? And I do keep local copies here and here in case I'm not connected, but it is also stored on the cloud, all right? And a lot of the stuff that I do is cloud-based, all right? I've made peace with the fact that I have to have information up on the cloud. I just don't put it all in one place. I have it in multiple places. Now there are other tools like this. There's one called 1Password, which is very similar. Does the same kind of stuff, maybe a little prettier interface, but it's a little bit more proprietary, and it actually stores everything in a single file that you have to locate somewhere. The problem I have with that is if that single file goes, you've lost everything. This, I have the ability to have duplicates and copies everywhere. So to me, this is very, very valuable. All right.
Now, quick
Yeah.
question on it. Say you go to the URL, does it automatically put your password in, or does?
You have an option. So in
Okay.
the browser, you can go in and download it. You have your LastPass plugin.
Yep.
When you open it up, it gives you the option to simply fill it in, autofill, or allow you to see the password,
Okay.
or allow you to see the login. So you have any choice that you like.
Right.
I tend not to do autofill.
'Cause-
I just like to go, what's my password? And I'll copy and paste it.
Right.
And one of the tools within it is copy password, place it in there. So you have a lot of different options how you like to do it.
Right.
The only ones I autofill are things that I maybe go to all the time. Like, well, that's fine. And of course, I remember those after a while.
Yeah.
The problem is I can't remember them all. You can remember about 250 to 500 things at any one time. All the rest of that stuff is gone. And there's always the one that gets shoved out of your head. Like your Uncle George's middle name. Peter, Paul, Mary, which one is it? All right. So I use something to conglomerate my information, to keep it in a way that I can get to it. I also need to, how would you put this? Traffic in information that's has more to it than simple passwords. So I use something like Evernote. All right. So I undertook a process recently of restoring old English bicycles. All right. Anybody have any hobbies like that you do? You're smiling. I know you do, don't you? It's like, Romanian flutes or something. So I've done this process. I just got a wild hair one day, like, I'm going to restore an old English bike because I got one and it was a mess. I thought, well, I'm going to restore that. So then I started doing some research on it. To me, Evernote's a great tool. Evernote's a tool, also free, all right? And with Evernote, you do have the ability to pay for additional storage, but I find that the free version is more than most people will ever need. All right, so Evernote's a tool also available on the web, and Evernote allows me to come in and just store information. So in this case, I'm going to back up to show you how the interface works. Now this works the same on the phone. You've got a phone version. I don't use it on the phone because it's so much information I find the phone hard to read, so I use it on my tablet. But in this case, I make a series of notebooks. All right, and each one of the notebooks, I have different notes in them. Oh, see, miscellaneous has 58 notes in it, because we all do that. We all have put in miscellaneous, and I go through that every few months and go, what's that? And I either delete it or, because we collect information. When we get information, we do a lot of collecting. I'm sure we've all done it. We collect stuff, and I'm going to need that, I'm going to need that. And then 2 days later, you're like, what did I need that for? And you toss it, or you realize it's dumb, or it wasn't useful or something. So my miscellaneous is there to catch all that. Back when I had the days of paper, my wife used to laugh. I used to have a drawer in the cabinet called Little Bits of Paper. That was the name of the drawer. And I used to just shove everything in little bits of paper. And then every month or so, you clean it out. So I have all these different things. Like I was helping my mom, my 90-year-old mother, with health insurance. Well, I had to put that somewhere, so I put all the stuff that had to do with that in there. This is where she lives. This is when I went to InstructureCon. So I have all these different projects. Here's my rehab project. Okay? So I created a notebook for it. And when I'm in the web and I'm surfing around, I find little bits that I need. Like I have to replace these little cotter pins, okay, and the cranks. They're just a pain in the butt. And there's people who have real specific instructions. Here's how you do it. I don't have time to write it down, so I just save the article, put it in here, and I can get back to it later. All right? What I do is when I save them from a browser, and I can tag them at that time. I can put them in my Evernote notebook. There's a free Evernote plugin for most browsers, so you can simply come in, or you can just copy and paste them into Evernote. And in this case, I can go in and see these, all right? Like this at one point. I wanted to build a truing stand, build wheels, so I just went to this site, and what it does is it saves a duplicate of the site, And you can also go to the actual site. So I got little plans on here, how to build this thing, you know, how to clean Chrome. In this particular one, all it is a link, you know. This one I did from my phone, so I can click on that. What that'll do, it'll fire up a browser and allow me to go to that and say, oh, here's how I clean Chrome. So it's a repository for this information. I can print it out, I can send it to someone. Let's get out of here. Let's say, you know, let's say AJ gets to me and says, oh, you know, I'm doing this project about drum brakes. And I come up here and say, all right, let's take that, and I'm going to mail it to AJ. All right. So then I come up here, you know. AJ Barcet, right? Okay. And then I can just send it to him. And when I do, it'll send him this, and it'll attach my note to it for them to use. If you have Evernote, I can also send it to you in Evernote, and I can share a notebook with him. I can say, here, you have access to my notebook. So the Evernote notebooks are located on the cloud, and you also have a local repository of that information as well. All right. So I can go in here and share this information anywhere. Now, I didn't send it. Cancel. Don't send. You know, so I have the ability to sort of keep this information as I need it. And then again, I can tag it. I can put alarms on it. I can favorite. And I can take this information, just massage it any way I want to have it available to me. In the classroom, I know a couple of professors have used Evernote and made Evernote folders available to their students, where they'll put, say, class notes in it. So they'll fill it up with class notes, and now the students have to have Evernote, all right? But because it's free, they say, here's the deal. Yeah.
What kinds of things can you put in there? Can you put video and
Well, I wouldn't put video
sounds
because
and-
of storage, all
Okay.
right? Because you do pay for storage. I would put links to video, but
Okay.
you could put PDFs in there, Word files. What the professor I know has done that has used PDFs primarily. The reason they use PDFs is that they're easily shareable and everybody can read them. Like with Word, most everybody can read it except what version of Word you have. Word doesn't always come through quite well. PDFs always look great. Videos, you do that, then you got to really look at other ways of sort of distributing that, because videos are sort of big. Well, sort of big, they're huge. So in that case, what I tend to do is, like, I have a lot of videos up on Vimeo, I have photographs up on Flickr, so I tend to share them that way, and I can embed them in an Evernote note using those kinds of technologies. So I can send them a note that's got a link to the video that they can go watch it, but I don't send them the actual video. Anybody? Okay. The other thing I wanted to show was, this is a little on the silly side, but I was going to show this earlier. This is something that I came across about, 3 or 4 months ago. And it was one of those things that I laughed when I first saw it. Oh, really? Seriously? Who would want that? It's called Buy Me a Pie. And it's just, it affects one of the most fundamental things we all do, which is eat. All right? How many of you have kids? Young kids. Okay, so young kids have this curious habit of, like, eating everything in your house, and they only eat like 5 things. Like my son, you know, salami, tortillas, cookies. I mean, those are like the 3 food groups that he eats. So it's a major disaster if we have no salami for his tortilla sandwich tomorrow. All right, because then I get the whole, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm starving. Oh, I didn't eat anything. I'm dizzy. I'm gonna die. So you got to make sure you have vary your stuff. So this became this really sort of important app in our lives. And I wouldn't have thought so at first, but all it is, it's a sort of shopping reminder for when you're going to the grocery store. So it works like this. I can create a new list. My wife has, now Buy Me a Pie is also free. I have no idea how to make money, because the app is free and the service is free. But in the case of something like this, let's say you wanted to make a list. Give me a name for the list.
Baby food.
Baby food, all right. You have a baby?
Yeah.
All right. That's not baby food. All right, so now I got my list. So the way it works, I can actually, I'm going to my shopper baby food list. Let's give it to it first. All right. So if I'm going to add a new item, I simply click new item, and I can type in what it is. So say I need to get baby food, and you decide at the time you also need beer. All right. So I want some beer. All right. You can color code it if you want. And which is, I do, you know, I have the green ones for my vegetables and red for meat, but I don't usually color code. But you can also do this. If I do colon 2, you know, give me 2 beer. that's the amount, all right? So then I can go back in, motor oil, and whatever else I will need. So then this list comes down. So I'm done with the list. What you can then see when you log on with your phone is you can just look it up. And I have multiple lists, pre-Thanksgiving, post-Hanukkah, whatever my lists are, pre-Christmas list. Oh my God, the folks are coming over list. They can come in, you can see the list, you can see the number here, and then you can see what it is. You also can tag each one of these, and it remembers each one that you do. So salami, hard salami, Genoa salami, salty salami, icky salami, don't get this one. So it'll remember all of these. And when you're shopping, you just bring up the list, and literally, you're like, oh, got the beer, boom, done. Marks it off the list, and you're out of there. It may seem like a very simple thing, but it has virtually eliminated coming home and going, did you get the napkins? Oh, I forgot the napkins. You just put them on the list. To the point that it's now, we just have this regular, buy me a pie list, and I'm out of here. And it's great because usually, especially with the baby, one person shops, one person babysits, right? So you've got the disconnect, and you get the whole phone thing. Oh, answer the phone, I got to tell you, we need liver, No need it anymore. It's like, just buy me, put it on here. You just walk around, boom, got it, boom, got it. Boom. Sometimes I'll be in the line to leave, and I'm like, I'm done. Yeah, bananas. Got out of line because it's on my list. It has become an incredibly useful tool, amazingly useful. Yeah.
So I use AnyList,
Yeah.
and a couple of benefits that it has. One is that my wife and I share a list in the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Same with us.
Okay. And that's been, she loves that.
Invaluable.
She puts things on my list all the time.
Yeah. Me too.
The other thing is it accepts the voice command.
Oh, that's
with
nice.
Siri.
That's nice.
And so we have an iPad that sits in our kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just have one hand free, you can press the button and tell Siri to add something to your shopping list.
That's nice.
And you can just rattle off a bunch of stuff and then hit OK and it'll add it to it.
That's nice. Buy Me a Pie doesn't do that, but that's nice. And I've just been a huge convert. I tried it on a lark, and I remember my wife saying, who's going to use that? And now it's like, I'll even tell her, she's going out there, oh, don't forget, just buy me a pet, I don't want to hear.
That's right.
And it's great, and it works great. And in a very simple way, yeah.
Can you use either of those to create like a template list, like a packing for camping list? And then
Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
Any list I know remembers what you've put in
Okay.
before, and so it'll start to suggest something.
Yeah.
In terms of remembering that.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing, if I want to put in, let's say, I'll put in salami, because I know it's going to show up.
Yeah.
All right, so I got to spell it right.
It'll have a,
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
and it'll bring up everything with S, if you
Okay.
want small red potato.
And then you just touch it?
Yeah, then you just boom. Let's say I want the co-op steel oats there. So I just come on, boom. Okay,
Okay.
adds it up. So it remembers everything you put into it. It's really, really helpful. I just love it.
another thing that I've only used it a couple times with any list. It's somehow integrated with all recipes.
Oh, that's nice.
And so you can go and take a look at a recipe and just say, add everything to my list.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, but it's a very simple tool, and I've just been amazed at how useful it is. I mean, absolutely blown away at how useful it is.
And you'll never see.
We don't have the.
Oh, any list and buy me a pie.
Is any list free also, John, or
I'm sorry.
is
Yes.
any list free also?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't paid. I don't think I paid. Well, I can't. I think it is. And it may be money for the cloud account or something like that.
I like that.
Out of milk.
The last thing I wanted to talk about is sort of, I do a lot of writing, lots of writing. And one of the issues that I came up with when moving over to a mobile device is, we use Word, or we use other types of writing. And I've never been, a lot of my friends who are developers are like, use a text editor. Use a text editor. And you've probably heard that too, Text editors are great because they're real simple. And one of the problems with words, who of you have had the problem where you copy and paste words somewhere and it doesn't look at all like what it looked like in Word? It's the way Word formats and the way the format's embedding in the text. So I got converted to this idea of using text editors about a year ago. And I started to play with them on the desktop, and I thought, well, it's okay, but it didn't hit me why it was convenient or why I really wanted to do this until I started using them on a tablet. One, when you use it on a tablet, there's much less overhead. You don't have to worry about formatting. Like if I go into something like Pages, or any sort of word processor on a tablet, you're dealing with something with a lot less horsepower than even your cheapest computer. All right, maybe not now. Tablets are getting pretty fast, but typically. So I started using this products like Daedalus. So Daedalus is what's going to come
How do you
up
spell
here?
that?
Yeah, could you say that?
Daedalus. Yeah, let me back up.
Oh, Daedalus, okay.
Yeah, gonna make sure what it.
I still didn't hear it.
Here, I'll back it up.
A-T-I-L-U-S,
Daedalus, the guy who flew up too close to the sun, his wings melted.
I think.
So it's Daedalus. Daedalus.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure what I had written up was good to show. So Daedalus.
What kind of novel are you writing?
No, it's not that. But I do have one novel that my son can't read. Well, not for that reason, but it's just, it's just a lot of swear words in it and violent and stuff like that. So I want to make sure that wasn't up. So what Daedalus is WordPress. It's a text editor, a really robust text editor. You do pinch and you can see all of the stuff they've been working on. All right, my articles and stuff like that. You can go to any one of them. This is one of their descriptions, but it's the same idea. So when you come in, you can simply just write. It's a real no distraction environment. If you want to create a new one, all right, let's back up. I can create a new one, click on the title, oops, where I want it to be, click on the content and get start title. All right. I can use the built-in keyboard, or I can use an external keyboard. I typically type with an external keyboard when I'm doing most of my typing. I use the built-in if I'm on a train or maybe sitting in the park or something like that. Now what's really nice about Daedalus is it allows me to link up, to save everything to Dropbox. Now in this case, Daedalus hooks up with another application I use on the desktop called Ulysses. Ulysses is a collaborative text editor. So not only is it a text editor, but I could have like AJ, and I could have John, I could have Justina. We could all work on one single document at the same time. So this is a nice tool because I can work on it on the desktop, I can work on it on my laptop, I can work on it on my phone. All right? I'm working on the same set of documents, and these documents are stored up in the cloud. And I have the option to store them on a variety of different cloud locations. I chose Dropbox because I have a Dropbox account. They also have their own cloud syncing that you can do. Daedalus is not free, but it's not that expensive. I think it's about $5. Ulysses on the desktop side, I think something along like 30 or something like that. There are a number of solutions like this. So this is not so much this particular one, but there are a number of these sort of no-frills text editing tools. All right? This particular one allowed me to link up with it. I was already using the collaborative text editor, but it allows me to write, and I'm working on a collaborative writing project with a friend of mine in Seattle. So we both write on the same document. I can access it here. I can access it on my desktop. He can make comments to it and access it there. We're working on one single copy. All right. Now, another way of working this is this thing called drafts. Now, drafts really has revolutionized the way that I work. I like the big white screen. I bring it up, most people up. Is there something up there? What it is, it's an editing tool, a text editing tool. I'm just going to write something up there. And what it is, it allows you to come in and write and just capture little bits of information. All right. Over here in the upper left-hand corner, I click on the little that, and it gives me a list of everything I've written, all these different things that I've put in here. It might be little snippets. I talked little pieces of. I got 2 teaspoons of paprika. I've got some recipes. I got a bunch of stuff in here. I'm going to go down to some of these. So I've got all these different bits that I've written, and not only do I write them here, but I can actually come, like this one right here. This is a text file.
What did you click, Kevin?
Oh, so on the upper left-hand side, you click on the little page icon, and it gives a list of everything you've got. It's just a running total. So now I scrolled through here, and I found this one. This is one that I got at InstructureCon. We were doing some work, and this is a JavaScript script that they provided. They said, oh, go get this. So I went online. I was on my tablet. I copied it and pasted it into here. Good. Now, at this point, it's just text. It's not actually a script. And I can't work on it as anything but text. I'm not savvy enough to be able to go, oh, that's what I need to do. I need the highlighting and all the stuff in a script to know what to do with it. But I did want to keep it. So I have it in here. The reason I chose drafts, and this is probably the best thing about it, on the upper right-hand side, you see this little send to icon, the little page with the arrow. I click on that, and it allows me a lot of things I can do with it. The check marks are everything I've already done with it, so I can save it to Evernote, I can save it to Dropbox, I can append it to a Dropbox file, so it doesn't save it new each time, but it appends the existing file. I can publish it to Scriptogram, which is a spot that I have on Dropbox that it could use as live web, like a live web space. I can send it to I can tweet it, I can make it an event, I can list it in my reminders, but I can also open it in another application. Right? This is invaluable. So I'm working quickly. I'm taking notes, working quickly. It's like I want to open this in my other application, and I'm going to open it in Textastic. Now, Textastic is an actual programming text editor. So what it does is it opens up in the text editor now. Now I have more traditional line endings and stuff like that, And I can come in here and actually save this as a JavaScript. So I'm going to come in here, oops. Just open the one I already did save. And when you save it, it ends up actually converting it to an actual usable JavaScript, does the color coding, and allows you to work in it. So this is the way I'm using these sets of tools just to be able to share information around, but I use them as a way to sort of collect information too. I'm there, I'm taking notes. Oh, save that over, save to the script. I'll go back to my note taking. All right, I'm going to save that to my Dropbox. I'm going to use that later. Oh, I'm going to copy and paste one down to my story. You know, I'm at coffee and I think of a great little chapter, a great little bit to happen. So these are ways I can hook them all together. All right, and I'm really not, you know, I'm talking like 3 pounds worth of stuff I'm carrying around. It makes that promise of sort of mobile technology that really allows you to work much more doable. I mean, Paul, you got a MacBook, right? MacBook Pro, right? It's big. It's a 15-inch. How much that thing weigh? Like 5 or 6 pounds? Yeah. That gets heavy on the shoulder, doesn't it? This, 2 pounds. Like the new one is like just over a pound. Now we're talking a significantly smaller footprint. Yeah, I mean that compared to a MacBook. You have a MacBook too, right? No, but have you seen hers? Yeah, that thing's beefy. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Exactly. I loved my MacBook when I had it. No, I'm not, dissing the MacBook. It's a great tool. But to me, that still chained me to that tool. A lot of nights with a hot lap or just sitting on the table, I really wanted to get away from that. I really needed to break away from that and learn how to sort of take this sound weird, but take my life back from technology. Because I know we've all felt this, where technology seems to like rule your life. It's like, oh God, I just got to do this, or I got to answer the email. I just had enough of that. I've been doing it for almost 30 years. No more. I just decided I need to be able to be more flexible. And it carries over in the work I do now. I can do tech support, but I'm mobile. I can answer Canvas questions, and I can do it from anywhere. I can actually get to resources I need. On occasion, yes, I do need to go back to my desk, but it really is it's so much easier to be able to do this and just be mobile and flexible and just detach a little bit. I had a friend of mine, it's a professor, who was doing grading from Canvas, because Canvas offers a tool, and they were grading on their iPad while shopping at Home Depot because their water heater blew up. And that may seem like an insignificant thing, but how many of us have been caught in a quandary like that where you need to do something? You're like, oh, yeah, you got to take my grandmother to the doctor because she's got Alzheimer's. It'd be nice to be able to just like, oh, yeah, I'm getting this done and doing what I need to do, or watching the kid and you don't have to be in the other room ignoring them or something. There's times when you need to do that. So to me, the promise of technology is breaking us away from the devices and just letting us live a more normal life. Totally, Justina's looking at me like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you talking that way?
I'm writing it all down.
So I wanted to bring AJ up. Well, first, I want to pause a second. I know I tend to float all around the place. Questions? Yeah.
Not a question, but a comment. I see we had a lot of iPad users in here, and as we're talking about wish lists, about 2 months ago, I started using a keyboard with my iPad, and it changed my experience dramatically. It's like, I finally like working on it.
Yeah.
Before it was just something I'd watch things, but now I can actually do stuff on it with a very inexpensive keyboard.
Oh, yeah. Like I use, I actually rigged up an old 1970s IBM keyboard. Thing weighs about 10 pounds. Seriously, you could knock out a mugger with this thing. It's got a big metal plane in it. And I hooked up a USB, and I actually connected my phone. It's hilarious because it goes click, 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 the big clickety keyboards. And I was typing it. The thing is like 5 times the size of my iPad. Because it's a teeny little iPad setup. But yeah, I've got a little keyboard. I want to get one of those keyboard case things just because they're nice and slim. But, and the thing is, what has been so great about mobile, I can use it. I can also read my novel on the bus. Or not my novel. I can read a novel on the bus. Or I can watch a video at home. Or like my son, he's watching whatever show he wants to watch that I don't want to watch. And I could be watching the horror movie or something like that, or the news or something. I could be watching the game. It's like, it's really allowed me a lot of flexibility, yeah.
I'm looking for something that I can collect a variety of different kinds of media in, like you would a file on the computer, where you could put sounds and video and related to themes, so that I can create learning activities with them.
So these are actual files, all of them, not websites?
Are they links to files or actual physical files?
Which whichever. I mean, if you could actually put the file in folders like you do on the computer, that would be the easiest.
You can, you're limited. You're limited for a couple of reasons. You're limited because the devices don't have a lot of space in them. You can get a 128 gigabyte iPad, but we're talking spendy. What I would suggest instead of that is I have set up at home, I've got a hard drive that's web accessible. And I save everything to that, and then I can access that remotely. So that's how I handle that, because I have photos and stuff, and I also use services, like I use Flickr to put all my now all my photos aren't on Flickr, but I have a lot of them up there. I can hop on a Flickr and get it. I got a collection of videos that I have up on Vimeo, so they're all available to me, and they're out there in different areas. Now Flickr's nice because it's I can have it, I can friends access it, and they can see it. I also have a set on another service called Zenfolio, which is more private, where you can only see it if I give you access to it. So it depends on what the kind of content, like if it's like pictures of my son, I don't put up on a public site. So I'll put them on a one that I can dole out who gets to see them and who doesn't. Yeah, pictures of bugs and stuff like that or whatever else I'm shooting. Yeah, I don't mind putting that on a public site. I don't even mind if people come and steal a picture. It's like, that's fine. But they're somewhere accessible easy to me. But that's the Achilles heel, if you will. It's not an Achilles heel. The problem is you can't store it on these devices. But I think that involves changing the way you think about how these devices work. I think that's the main thing, because we are used to, just shove it on a hard drive for that.
Well,
it's rejiggering the way you work.
The cloud, accessing it through the cloud would be great, but what I want to do is be able to store all those kinds of, like, say, take bugs. So you have photos, videos, sound files.
I would use Dropbox.
Okay.
What's that?
I can take this.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing, my wife is a prolific Pinterest. I find Pinterest just about as asinine as watching paint dry. But she loves it.
That's true.
One thing that I recently saw is educators are using Pinterest to aggregate their content and make a pin board based off of a class. So for instance, if you have etymology, because you mentioned bugs, you may have a Dropbox with a PDF that has your lesson plan that you're dealing with. And next to that you may have some video content from PBS. You can make a pin board, and that pin board now becomes your front end of all of your content, and you just give that one single link to your students, and voila, they have all of their stuff in the can. All of your stuff is in different parts of the cloud. They don't know. All they see is Pinterest. And by making it a Pinterest board that's public, they don't have to have a Pinterest account to get to it. So that might be something you might want to try.
And there are a variety of cloud-based storages too. Like I use Dropbox, all right?
Yeah.
But I have three of them. I have Dropbox, I have Copy, and I have Box. Box I use because Box is FERPA compliant. So for anything that's Western related that I want to store, I could store it on Box. They adhere to FERPA standards. For stuff that's more just want to store it somewhere, like I do a lot of environmental education work that's not related to Western. So that I'll store on Dropbox. Because I have an app, I can get to it, go to whichever file I want and say, okay, there's my Dropbox stuff. And I can just store it up there. And it's always accessible to me wherever I am. And then I have Copy. Just like Dropbox, except where Dropbox gives you 2 gigabytes for free, Copy gives you 10. So free space. So I have multiple repositories of all of these kinds of services, and all of them are free. Well, I take it back. My Dropbox isn't free because I expanded it to 100 gigabytes. But the other ones are free. So I have different areas where I drop in content like that. And I can use this here, I can use this here. You want to switch and come up and show your stuff?
Good ideas, thanks.
You need this? You want this one? You want that one?
Both.
Okay. Don't break it. I'll sit in your chair now.
Oh, yay. So hello, I think I know pretty much everybody here, but if not, if you're new to Western, welcome. I'm AJ Barce. Much like Kevin, I'm one of the technologists at large. And what I'm going to kind of highlight is kind of dovetail a little bit of what Kevin talked about and kind of stay a little bit more on point with some of the apps that we talked about earlier today. And also kind of show off a little bit of more hardware. Kevin mentioned one thing that's kind of the crutch to all of these touch tablets and smaller devices, is that how do we get something small that we get very personal with, that we keep our lives on, and getting it on something that's useful, something that's big that we can present in class. So one thing is, like you're seeing me right now. Kevin, keep my stuff in the corner.
But at least I finished the soup.
There we go. The cheapest, fastest, and most reliable way, as much as I love wireless technology, is cables. All of the classrooms here on campus, we have a VGA cable, and you can check out from Mr. Gary Malik, just a simple dongle. Now, if you're like me and you're lazy, you just go down to Gary and just check one out. These are like $30, and it's probably the best $30 you'll ever have, because if you ever go to a conference and you'll have this. I mean, it's not that big. It's a lot smaller than, say, your MacBook. And they come in different flavors, like this one's VGA, which is what our classrooms are rigged for. There's also HDMI. So if you're like my wife, for instance, and she likes to watch, say, Once Upon a Time on ABC, well, I have the ABC app on here, and I'll just plug it into the HDMI cable and put it up on our 50-inch screen. And she watches, her wonderful show on our 50-inch screen. I don't get any work done. But, it's a cheap alternative. The more expensive alternative would be that of something like what I'm going to show you here in a second. How many of you have heard of Apple TV? Okay, so
Double tap it.
double tap. You broke it, Kevin.
Source.
There you go. Oh, so it's HDMI coming out?
No.
Oh, it should be going to VGA, right?
Yeah.
Really?
You broke it.
He likes me better. Well, Leo J is working with this. Well, actually, I can while you're
Yeah.
There's something we got called into for with the athletic department, and they actually had a situation where they needed to put up content to a big screen, and they were going around, wireless and Bluetooth. How do we do this? And what happened in about an hour? I was like, cable. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. They already had plumbed for the cable. Cable's already there. It's like one of these. Plug it on the wall. And they're like, okay. That'll work. Is that a Retina display?
Yeah.
It's overdriving the. I think it's overdriving the available resolution of the screen.
Oh, man. Okay.
I'm sorry, now, what did you call that little white
This guy,
device?
it's just a dongle. It's a converter.
Dongle, okay.
Yeah.
If you Google dongle, is that what you're gonna find?
Yeah, I would be concerned.
Depends if you're Kevin Dixey or not.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It's
I'll
lightning to VGA.
Yeah, so there's two flavors of iPad currently. There's 30-pin, what's commonly referred to as 30-pin iPad connection. It's the big, fat, broad one that we all know and love from the iPod days. And then the brand new one, which is called Lightning, or Lightning Bolt. Because on the Mac side we have Thunderbolt. So they have Lightning Bolt and Thunderbolt, kind of clever marketing. But these little guys, you can actually go to the Apple store themselves and just order it direct from Apple. The one thing I will usually advise most people is buy them from Apple, especially the newer ones.
Yeah.
Because these have a little chip in them that if you plug in a device that's not authorized by Apple, it can have some issues. For one, like some charging cables will like blow up your iPad because they don't have a voltage regulator in them. For displays, sometimes they won't display, and so I wonder if this is also part.
Could be.
It could be.
Unfortunately, they're kind of expensive. They're about $30.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could buy them direct, or you can buy them from Fred too. Fred Robinson. They keep a stock of them in there. So
Really?
need one for your department, you can buy it through him. Yeah, he's got a big. Oh, let me check in here, and then you open it, like 100 of them.
Great.
$30. Here's your receipt. Yeah, and you just have your department.
Very good Fred imitation.
Yes. Our Eeyore of technology. I love him.
No, your iPad's not showing up either now, Kev.
There you go.
Technical difficulties.
Gotta turn it on,
That was
huh?
almost it. There we go.
Okay, so there's yours.
Charge it down.
Yeah,
You might have just had to go to PC and then come back.
possibly.
Yeah, and the dongles are great. I have a few that I keep on hand, but I just have a couple at home because I need them.
Mini USB?
You can get. I have one that goes from the 30-pin to USB, so I can actually put an SD card in and read pictures off my camera into my iPad. I got one that goes to regular USB, where I actually have connected a hard drive. You can't see it in the traditional way, but there are ways to make that work. And then I have a couple for video that do video and audio that carry them through, and they're to VGA. There's also one to HDMI, as I recall.
Yeah.
Yes, there's an HDMI one, and there's one that's the fancier VGA. I can't remember what it's called right now. But they all work fine. You want to use my iPad?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use your iPad. Okay. So there's a limitation. Okay. So one of the things
Yeah, if
that
you want to use the dock cam? Sure. That works.
why not? We'll go
Talk about
old
simple
school, right?
solutions, huh? You have to, it helps if you angle it a little bit under there, but
When in doubt, go analog, right?
I like the fingerprints. That's a nice. There we go.
There we go. Much better.
Yeah. Wow, they come through nicely, don't they?
Yeah. You actually get to see my finger swiping
That's
now.
right.
Okay.
pretty cool.
Okay. So little technical difficulties.
Cooler.
So Safari. Wow, that's really bright. So one of the things that we can look into is an Apple TV, which is $100. It's a little bit expensive. But what's great about it, especially in the classroom, is that Apple has a configuration tool that's free for all purposes called Apple Configurator. And what this allows us to do as admins is we can plug in fleets of iPads and configure them to have specific apps, have profiles, have access to accounts, wireless passwords. So if you have, for instance, children at home and they're getting to the age where you're going to bequeath an old iPhone and you want to lock out certain
Old
things. Huh?
An old iPhone.
Old iPhone, yes.
Last year's model, yeah.
Yes, the iPhone 5. So if you're gonna do hand-me-downs, I've told a few parents this, which is kind of a helpful tool, is you can use Apple Configurator to also restrict what they can do on these things. For instance, if you don't want them to have YouTube, there's an option for that. If you don't want to have them, if you want them to be blocked from certain sites, such as Facebook and so on, there's an option for that. You can also restrict them from not having access to the App Store. So also in the classroom, by the same token, if you have iPads and you want to also lock it to a specific app, and there's going to be an app I'm going to show you that would be good more for K-12, but you could lock it to a certain app so they can push the home button all ding-dong day long. They can reset the iPad. It's not going to leave that app. And so that's what Apple Configurator allows us to do. And what also it does with the newest version is we can configure these for the first time. These things actually have a little micro USB plug in the back. We can plug it into Apple Configurator and tell this our wireless settings. We can tell it that it's going to be set for 1080p or whatever, all off of the computer, as opposed to sitting with the stupid remote going, my password is aardvark73@yahoo.com, whatever. We can actually use the keyboard and just push it down. The other really cool thing about this is that it has Bluetooth LE, which is a low form version of Bluetooth that takes very nominal power. And you can, if you have your wireless settings set up on an iPhone 4 or higher, you can actually, on initial setting, set this on top of the Apple TV, and it will suck down all of your information with regards to your wireless settings and turn this onto your network that fast. So kind of like what Kevin is saying is that using any of these technology, whether you're an iPhone user or you're an Android user or whatever, looking at this hardware and saying, how can I make this little black box, which is supposed to get me Netflix, how can I bend this to my will? And do it in the less keystrokes as possible so I can get on with the rest of my day. So I've always thought it'd be, how cool would this be to have these in classrooms? And I come in as the instructor, I just take my iPhone, I stick it on it, and now all of a sudden everything's all set to go and I can swipe to unlock and present. Because the great thing about this is I can AirPlay, doing what I was trying to do with one of these when these fail, and I can sling whatever's on my screen to my display. Well, luckily we have dock cams if everything fails. So that's $100 technology, see? And that's the big thing is that instead of me being up here being all all gnarly and mad and snuffly, and we just roll with it. And that's what's great about having these options. These are all options. Kevin and I will be the first to tell you, we're never going to be like the sage on the stage and tell you exactly what the tools are because everybody has different needs. So that's the $99 option. The $35 option is made by Google, believe it or not, and it's called Chromecast. I just ordered one of these. I'm really excited to get one. because it's $35, and if you order it now, you get a $6 rental for free from Google.
Don't rent that, baby.
Just don't rent that movie.
A movie rental, you mean?
What's that?
A movie rental?
Yeah,
you
movie
mean?
rental
Oh.
through Google. So $35 knocks it down, I think, on Amazon with Prime shipping. It was like $36, so it's $30 right now. See, $6 credit. And what this does is that it's very similar to the Apple TV. The only difference is not as configurable, because this is kind of a 1.0. They just came out with this a couple months ago. But very similar situation where you have your tablet, in this case, because it's Google. This is more tailored to the Android folks. You sit down and you will cast with your screen. Whatever's in the Chrome browser goes to your big screen TV. So this could be good for some instructors where all you're doing is web content, like Kevin was kind of talking about. If everything is in the cloud, how do we get the cloud to the classroom? Well, that would be through a browser. Well, all of these devices have browsers. Why not cast it? And so it's kind of the race to zero. Like, a lot of these companies are trying to get hardware on the market that allows us to use whatever tool of whatever ecosystem, short of maybe Microsoft, to get to these big screens as best as possible.
Well, we and Jen and I talked about this earlier. We both used to work in configuring the classroom computers on campus. Well, actually, he does it now. I used to do it before. And one of the things that we both have heard continually from professors, like, oh, God, classroom computers and podium computers, oh, there's such a, yeah. The little look you give me right there,
Yeah,
a lot of us
got
have seen
that a lot.
And it's like, oh, what a pain those things are. And one of the thoughts we have is like, all right, what if, just speculatively, but what if they were equipped in a way where you could come in with your device? A lot of you have devices. And just like, boom, connect to it, present. I would say on the average, not everybody, but I would say if you took all professors, I'd say 60% or greater of them, probably in the classroom setting, are typically using browser to display stuff. They don't usually hop into Photoshop or something like that. It's usually browser-based. What if your life were such that you had your phone in your pocket or your tablet? You could come in, boom, set it up, I'm connected, you go. Everything is the way you want it. You don't have to mess with it. You don't have to wonder if that particular browser on that machine is current or has been updated. Even though we do our best to update them on a regular basis, there's always that thing going on. What if your life was such that you come in and go, boom, connected. All right, here's what I got. I'm doing this and this. And it traveled with you.
Yeah.
You were portable. By the way, what room am I in? Doesn't matter what room you're in, because you carry your room with you.
And it's really putting the onus back on you. It's your technology. You get familiar. You don't have to worry about, the only thing you really have to worry about is the infrastructure, i.e. whatever box that you're casting to is there. And, of course, wireless internet. That's going to be the crux of all of this. It doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, even these guys in the classroom, if our internet is down or the network is down, you're just as broken as if this is down.
If you gotta leave, let's go over.
I know, I just don't want to.
Oh, okay. Because you're good at like, I gotta go there.
I know. It's like, gotta get going. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's Chromecast. Again, it's $35. Might be a good stocking stuffer because 'tis the season. And like I said, the big thing about this is that it really is tailored towards that of the Android environment, but it will now work with iOS. They actually have a Chromecast app where you can now use your iOS device and sling it to this thing. That might be just something you could try out. And like I said, it is not like Apple TV where you have apps. They do have a very minimal selection of apps, but this is really geared towards this stick is Chrome, and it is a full-fledged browser. Matter of fact, it'll stream. I tried it. It does Flash video. My iPhone can't do Flash, but it does. So I was, so here I am, like on the Fox website, and I'm watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on my 50-inch TV that I missed. I'm like, this is cool. How come I can't do this on my phone? So that's what's really cool. Is it's basically Chrome in a box, or Chrome in a stick. The other hardware type of thing I wanted to hit on, because Kevin was talking about keyboards, I'm really torn about this because I like the fact that I can grab this like a book. I'm still one of those weird geeks that still carries either a Moleskine or some sort of journal with me. So I like the feel of a book. I like this. But at the same time, I do like to sit down and get real work done. So it'd be so nice if I can have a thin keyboard that keeps it nice, like a book. If I can just sit it right here and touch type when I need to. I mean, not the big clunky, kill a mugger type of keyboard, but something that I could sit down and do something comfortable. And for me, I've noticed that Microsoft did one thing good, and with their Surface, they have their soft touch keyboard exclusively for the Surface. By far, I think it's a really clever design, and it's like I said, it's not it is a full-fledged keyboard, but it's not like, you're going to kill a mugger with it. So there's one that just came out for the new series of iPads and the iPad Mini, which is called the Fabric Skin Folio. It's made by Logitech. It's supposed to have like eons of battery, but notice that it's super, super thin. It's probably nominally thicker than Kevin's just regular skin. And this is made by Logitech as well, I assume.
Yeah.
Feels like it. And so this is a cool, it's very pricey. It's a premium product. It's $150. But for $150, again, if you're trying to convert something that you wish you could do more, like John was just saying, here's something that is a nice medium. And you get this little pen loop. So if you're like me, and I'm going to show you an app that uses a stylus, I forgot my stylus at my office. You can also stick a stylus here. And so again, you're getting a piece of technology that you're encompassing and protecting. It's got a nice little trim bezel so that if it gets dropped-ish, it'll kind of protect it. But also it's all-inclusive. Now you have touchability, you have typeability, and you have a pen loop so that you could do drawing. If that's your foray. So that's my 3 kind of hardware picks. Any questions about those?
What's the fabric skin mean? That seems to be an extra $50 for
So yeah, so if I scroll down a little bit, if you notice right here, the keys actually are in the fabric. So they're not actually levitating keys like a keyboard. And by doing so, you also get a little bit of protection because now you don't have to worry about crumbs getting in there. You don't have to worry about water or so on. So like I said, it's a really slick idea. And then I can't remember, I'm actually looking to see 3 months of battery life built into this slim case. 3 months of battery life.
Based on 2 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Which, that's, normal duty. That's not bad.
So do you need to charge the keyboard separately from charging the pad?
Correct. So like right here you have a little slot where you just plug in a standard micro USB. Yeah. So anyway, I actually recommended this to a professor just the other week, and he opted to go for the clicky keyboard because he likes the feel of a clicky keyboard. But this was the case, no doubt. And like I said, the cool thing about this is that the iPad Mini, I feel, is just, you can't do a lot of stuff. Throw one of these on it, and now you have even smaller, an 8-inch tablet, and you can actually do some typing, do some writing.
Oh, it could write on the Mini with a keyboard easily.
Yeah. So that's my hardware picks. Any questions about those? Keep them fire.
On the Surface, you've got on the keyboards, you have to shift back and forth.
Right.
If your password's got a dash in it, you have to shift to the other keyboard, hit with the dash, and then go back to typing the rest of the words. So.
Yeah, and then on this, it's actually designed for like the iPad. I don't know if there's
a row of function keys at the top.
Yeah, and usually there's a nice strong shot of it, but it doesn't have it here. But typically speaking, like any of the keys, short of like foreign language keys, they'll be on this actual keyboard. So across the top, you'll have one that will, like your home menu, search. Help me out, Kev. I can't remember. There's the normal iPad function keys are usually on the top row. Sound, dimness, so on.
Also, all of the writing apps that I was showing all have extended keyboards in the software as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
The thing I guess you wouldn't have using an extra keyboard would be that that voice recognition part. Huh?
Well, you still would have it. Siri is still there. Matter of fact, you can push the home button.
No, on the keyboard, on the on-screen keyboard, you have the microphone. So
Right.
You can talk and turn to text.
Right. Yeah. No, you'd have to you'd still.
Some mechanical keyboards actually have that keyboard.
Do they?
Yeah, the ones that are iPad specific do.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe this
So this
one does.
this one might.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't find the
Yeah.
picture where they have the top down of it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Cool. Great questions. Any more on hardware? So on the same token of hardware, there's this app called Paper, and this is what I was mentioning earlier a little bit about. This would be great in like the K-12 classroom, but it's basically designed for drawing. And what's great is that Paper, these guys were originally a creative crew from Microsoft, and they split off when basically Steve Ballmer made the call to go to the Surface as opposed to this other product that they were making in-house called Courier. And the whole premise of it is that you have touch, you have drawing, you have typing, all into a device that was dual screened. And then Ballmer decided to axe it and go with the Surface because it was too radical. Well, that crew left Redmond, went to New York City, and worked out of the guy's newly made apartment, and now they own the entire building. And the studio later became Studio 53. And originally when they came out with this, it was kind of cool because, you know, here is an interface. It's very minimalistic. I mean, once you tap on it, it even nukes the top bar. Like, you're in as if you're an artist. And you get to select your, you know, paper, as it were. You get to select what type of stuff you want. But everything that you could do on a physical piece of paper, they wanted to try to recreate in this, you know, sterile environment. Technology for me is very sterile. It's like the difference between touching something that's stainless steel versus wood. Wood has warmth, it has some sort of characteristics, it has nuances. Stainless steel is milled, it's very dry, it's cut, and you know, microbes can't grow in it type of a thing. And so they really wanted to bring that microbialness back to technology. And so by inventing their app called Paper, you can use a suite of tools. So right now I've just got the pen and the eraser tool, but you have like a crayon tool, you have a smudge tool, you have a fine point brush, and all of these can be purchased individually so that if you just wanted to have one single one.
I have them all in mine if you want.
It's cool. So you can actually try it out and see what that does. So like right now I'm using watercolor, and all I'm doing is using my finger. And as I stroke harder, it's as if I'm adding more watercolor to it.
Or you could use a stylus too, right?
Or, yeah, which I left in my office. What's really great is that there's two pieces of technology when it comes to an iPad. There's passive and active stylus. A passive stylus is kind of like the good old days of Palm Pilots. You know, it just looks like a piece of plastic and a little rubber nub on the bottom. The other ones are called active, and it actually pairs to your device using Bluetooth. And what that gives you is kind of like Wacom tablets, where it's pressure sensitive. Well, Studio 53 decided to come out swinging and create their own, and that's what this little circle thing over here is. If I actually had their stylus, I could just tap it right here. It knows that my iPad is on, it will pair to it, and now I have a stylus, and it unlocks all of these for free, and I can use a real stylus. And I can have pressure sensitivity and so on. Usually there's an ad that shows up that tells me like, oh, this is the new paper stylus. Apparently it's not. But what's great about this is that as I'm just using the basic tools, but this would be great for something like instructors that are dealing with either art, but also engineering, for ecology. If you're trying to demonstrate like, tectonic plate shifts, you can now draw and capture this all here in your notes. You could send it to your Evernote and put it to your class.
Well, yeah.
And so it gets away from the concept of like we have to all do Camtasia stuff and have a actual real piece of paper and a document camera and run Camtasia and capture it, and then I've got to, no. You just actually do your own lectures like you normally would, and all of your now documentation is all in the cloud. It's all digital. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So that's their stylus. Again, it comes in two options, plastic or wood.
I love the wood one.
Again, this studio is really trying to tailor on, like Kevin said, to disconnect a little bit from our technology, kind of get back to our humanist roots. We're all human.
On the Retina iPads, in fact, it'll do the same levels of pressure that you get from a Wacom tablet, which is nice. And I think that the stylus is what, $60, $80?
Yeah, it's like, but again, you get the entire pen and ink suite for free.
Yeah.
So it's a fairly good value.
Yeah, I use 53 for character sketches I do. I'm a cartoonist, so I'll be on a plane somewhere. I need it. And when I first found out about the stylus, I actually unlocked all the tools already, but I use them all. Do a quick watercolor sketch, and then I can send it to Evernote. I can email it to somebody and say, hey, check this out. What do you think? We're going to do this. Oh yeah, that's great. I mean, it really is a huge time saver, and decouples me from having to sit at my desk or with my drawing pen with my papers. Not that I don't still do that, but I don't have to.
Right.
Where do you get the stylus?
You can order it straight from 53.
Okay, because I don't see it on Amazon, for
Yeah,
example.
no, they just launched, I think, this last week. So anyway, with paper, again, like if you notice, there's no iconography. Like there's no, like, unless you knew how to use paper, like instantly you're like, well, how do I get out of this app? Again, if you think in the concept of this is my notebook, I have it open. If I take two fingers and I punch it together, it folds as if it's a book. So again, it's that humanist type of thing, and it shows a little bit of like what you can do. You can blend colors, you can actually blend hues, shades, and so on. And like I said, I think it would be a great tool for not just art, but also if you're doing notes that's very illustrative, if you're trying to show architecture, if you're trying to show whatever, this would be an app, and again, it's free, you know, it's whatever tools that you'd like.
Simple sketch.
Did you just now do that, Kevin?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, I have all the tools available and the color picker here. It really, and the color picker is really innovative because you can blend colors with it. You can pick a new color and then you can blend that color in. So it works in a very tactile way. Paper's a great app.
And the great thing about it is that like it allows, especially from the student side, it allows them to make mistakes and not be like, oh, I gotta wrinkle this and throw it away. You can undo. You just basically hold and rewind time. And so they're allowed to experiment. And by students, it could be, I mean, college students. I've met a lot of college students that are scared of art because they don't want to make a mistake or they have to start from scratch again. Well, here you go. One example of this that I found, and this is a different app that I don't use, but there was a, he is a professional sketch artist.
Oh, yeah,
but
I've seen those ones.
he did,
Awesome.
The one of Morgan Freeman.
yes. So 285,000 brushstrokes. By brushstrokes, thumb, finger strokes. 200 plus hours, of course, like I said, pro, right?
It's a wish list.
So this is made by another app very similar to Paper called Procreate and an iPad Air. But it kind of demonstrates the fact that these pieces of technology, they're getting as good as what we call, you know, the real stuff, paper, you know. But the benefit that I see within this technology is that here we are, we can experiment with our current works and not have to worry about going back or making a mistake. We can experiment in ways that we would, you know, be a little bit more daring and not have to worry about being Michelangelo and, you know, chipping the marble to start all over again because it's not good enough. Technology in this case, especially in art, kind of gets, you know, newcomers to this type of thing away from that hesitation. And, you know, it looks like a photo, you know, and this is made off of a tablet. You know, it's not a real computer. Well, a computer's just there as a tool, just there to help us, to get this out of us. A human's making this, the iPad isn't.
I'd like to show one very wowy thing. I'm not going to put it on the computer. But it is something that I actually used in my environmental education work. This is a tool. This is a service called Sphere. And I'm going to walk it around. There's a reason I'm going to do it this way. So,
And could you spell that, Kevin?
Sphere, S-P-H-E-R, like, whoa.
Okay.
Let's see, come on. Internet connection here.
So what about those of us who are not iOS but were Android?
I believe Paper is exclusively to iOS, but there, I think you have a Samsung device. Looks like.
Yeah, I know.
I think the Note doesn't the Note have its own exclusive like Note Jotter or something?
Oh yeah, it has something, but just not quite to that level of
Yeah.
smudging.
Trying to think.
Just look at art apps for Android, right?
What's that?
So,
I would probably search the Play Store and see if Procreate doesn't have an Android version.
No, I never looked at
You can
Procreate.
look-
Yeah, try it. See if Procreate's in the Play Store. Also, Autodesk. Autodesk makes one called Sketchbook. I believe
where
it's
are
available
we?
for
this
Android.
is in Spain.
Oh,
No, I think that might be the hotel.
so it's kind of like the maps thing with the.
Yeah, so what it is, it's a 360-degree view, and you're looking at it through a window, all right? So wherever you look, it's looking in that location. Move it around.
I'm there.
Look, you're there. And I used it actually to locate areas, doing environmental education, areas where I can't get students to go.
Oh, what is this one
So you can move around and see it in 360, up, down, everything. And they have a device that you can buy. It's $150. You can sit either an Android phone or an iPhone in it. and set it up on a tripod, and it'll shoot the Sphere for you and then upload it to Sphere automatically. And so bringing out this device to do that, not 2 years ago, was $13,000, $150 now.
Yeah.
You stick your phone in, it automatically does it.
Be really good for tours.
Tours,
Especially if you could add other data.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But actually, see, so you're looking at, and you're actually moving around. And one of the things that I've been playing with using this too is going down in Bellingham, the sites where you had a whole historic areas, and being able to open it up and actually see the historic area here through your little window and kind of go, oh, there's a salmon fishery there, but it's not there now. Right? It's a tool that enables you to extend beyond the traditional areas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, beyond what are sort of traditional ways that we would deliver information and sort of create experiences for people.
Yeah. So the next one I want to show is in the same vein as Kevin's Evernote. I'm a big Evernote junkie as well. But there's a companion app, and they actually bought this app, and it's called Sketch. And much like if you're into annotating PDFs, Sketch can allow you to do that as well. But the big thing that I use Sketch for is, again, trying to bring that dynamicness that I'm able to do in the classroom, where if I'm on a whiteboard and I want to show, like, here's where the troops went into Carthage during the Roman siege, well, if I'm doing it through a screen capture, it's kind of hard for me to, how do I do that? So using Sketch, what I'm able to do is tie it to my Evernote account so that everything I do can be pushed to it, and it allows me to annotate graphics. So for instance, I'm going to actually pull up one that I've already done in Evernote. So if I scroll down, let's see, Sketch. So here's the Punic War, and here's a picture of ancient Carthage that I took. And I actually did this for a different class where, I did this live, where I was like, okay, so here's the exit strategy for the population. They were going to head to the west. Reinforced alcove, which is going to be the preventative measure because the Romans can't do water. But the Romans, once they hit land, it was over because that was their big thing. And instead of me actually drawing on a board, I actually did this live. I actually took my finger in Sketch, and I was able to annotate that graphic. So I'm just going to do a new one. And I can just draw and show what I want it to do using just simple arrows, direction. I can highlight if I had text as well. But again, it allows you this whole dynamic aspect where I feel like you're ESPN, basically. You get to be the ESPN guy. So it's like, so clearly Kevin and I are running defense for iOS, but we got Raya sweeping in with Android.
You're talking John Madden.
That's it. So basically, Sketch allows you to be John Madden of your classroom and be able to annotate your notes using this. And then, of course, when you're done, you save it as a graphic. And if you have a student that misses your class, push it to your Evernote, push it to Canvas, push it wherever, and they get that. So that's a useful tool that I've used and still use. So that's a real fast app. Flowboard is basically PowerPoint without the PowerPoint. And it saves everything to the cloud. And it's a really innovative way of doing PowerPoints because basically you pick from a template, and they've got their basic templates, or you can start with white. And just like you would with regular PowerPoint, this is also free. Everything I'm showing you is free. I think there might be a paid add-on if you wanted to have like something really super special with templates.
You buy templates.
Yeah, so if you wanted to have a really uber special template, then you'd have to pay for it. But
there's also Haiku Deck, which is just like this, but you also can do, there's a there's a web version that you can share files with.
Yeah, that one's
So-
good.
Or you can be
It wasn't
like
working
me.
this morning, so I didn't show it.
Or you can be like me because I'm just like, templates are cool, but I really just want to type and get this done. Let's just start from scratch. Just blank slides, because that's all it is. I want to pull one up that I kind of just started when Kevin was talking. So here's school report. Okay. Here's school report, and it's just showing you, so I don't have to do it, shows you kind of how things are. You just drag and drop things as a module, move it around, just like you would with a mouse and keyboard on PowerPoint. And then when you're done, you can save to the cloud, share it out, whatever, just like you would. But the best thing is it's free, don't need PowerPoint, and you can get it up on the cloud just like you could any other presentation. Or you can plug it in using your iPad and Apple TV, Chromecast, well, not necessarily Chromecast, or your dongle, and you can present it and untether and walk out of your classroom. Doesn't matter where. So that's Flowboard. So
AJ, real quick, in the sharing, what kind of like file exports can it do, or is it mostly like a web-based that?
well, it actually puts it on the cloud.
Yeah.
So it's actually you view it through the browser, if I recall.
I think you can also do a PDF. If I remember, I use Flowboard, let me look.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly, like if you wanted to have it off of Flowboard, I can't remember what it is. I think it's just PDF, so you can
Yeah.
have it as a handout or
makes
slides. But the animations and such, that's all like, proprietary, and I think it just packages it like Prezi does. It's
We
just a
actually
web.
have a student from the SEC who works for Flowboard as one of the engineers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. They came back like, really? How awesome is that?
So another one, and this is more organization, called Trello. I use this for the STC in helping managing our poetic chaos that we have. What's that?
I didn't catch the name.
Trello.
Trello.
Yeah, like Trello cat, Trello. And what this is basically is, I call it the Pinterest of organization. I know that I just said that Pinterest drives me nuts because my wife spends too much time on it, but it basically breaks up things in your management so that you can have different projects. And then if you have students like I do, so for instance, I'm going to pull up my One Button Studio. Here's what it looks like. You make lists. And these lists can be renamed to anything you want. Right now we have it as to do, doing, and done. And we actually create cards on these lists, and we can assign people to it. So if you're trying to manage a large group of people, such as group work, you can actually set up a Trello site so that you can give them an objective, such as a checklist. So right now, here's a checklist that we haven't had any status on yet. And I can come in here and add like assets, so attachments. So this would be example work, for instance. But the big thing that I love about this is that I can drop this down and I can assign this card, this specific task to a student. And then I know that that student has it. I can assign it a drop dead date, and they're accountable for it. And it's not like, oh, I didn't get that or whatever. Well, it was on Trello. They get notified. You get push notifications to your device. And so it's a lot like Canvas in that regard, but it's kind of Canvas meets Pinterest meets Microsoft Project without the headache. So that's Trello. Okay. Okay, well, I guess I'm getting out of time.
Yeah, the hook came out.
Well, it'd be fun to do more at some point. There'll be
Yeah.
more stuff all the time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people could share too. That'd be fun, huh?
Yeah.
Any questions?
More than I already asked.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Gotta go play.
Go play. Experiment.